the Lord's Prayer, we talk about God's kingdom. But what is that? The image of a kingdom isn't what it once was. Once powerful, once widespread, once desired. We now see a number of issues with the idea of a kingdom. We've seen how past monarchical figures have trampled the rights of indigenous peoples. How resources were stripped out of lands and shipped away. How what benefited some really endangered others. So what is it that God's kingdom actually is? This from the Oxford Dictionary of the Christian Church. God's reign was expected to bring with it order and justice, thereby manifesting God's purpose for creation. Not surprisingly, Luther had something to say about God's kingdom. He wrote this: "For as much as there is often made mention in the words in the New Testament of these words, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of Christ, and it is very profitable and expedient for a Christian to know these, that they are nothing else but remission of sins and grace preached and offered by the gospel. For in this kingdom thou shalt find nothing but grace, goodness, pardon, and the forgiveness of sins, love, and gentleness." When will we see that kingdom of God? When will we see those things come to be? Over the centuries, we've debated it, when we might see this historically called kingdom of God. Jesus, on the night before he was betrayed, while upstairs with his disciples instituting what has become for us communion, said this: "For I tell you that from now on I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes." It seemed for Jesus and his disciples to be so imminent. Now, 21 centuries later, it still isn't here. And Isaiah wrote these words some 7 centuries before that: "For a child has been born for us, a son given to us, authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace. For the throne of David and his kingdom, he will establish it and uphold it with justice and with righteousness. From this time onward and forevermore, the zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this." God's people have hoped that God's vision of the world would become a reality 28 centuries ago. And there are times that we wonder if we're any closer to it being realized. When we look back at what Luther had to say about grace, goodness, pardon, and forgiveness of sins, love, and gentleness, we look at the world today, do we see those things? Probably not much if you watch the news. The world seems so bent towards the opposite of these. can actually be quite discouraging to think about how far we are from this vision that we have of the world. And the fact that we believe in something so distant from reality is a common charge by people who don't believe in anything. So why then believe in this thing that we call God's kingdom? Because our belief doesn't just talk about the reality of the world, it also talks about something that we hope to aspire to be. While I'm not always successful, I aspire to be a person of grace, a person of goodness, a person of pardon, a person who forgives sins, a person of love, a person who is gentle. My hope is that we would all aspire to be those things. May we remember those hallmarks of faith when we meet others, particularly the people who challenge us, as by acting in the image of God, we can change the world. And isn't that what we want? To make the world a better place, a reflection of God's love for all.